Let's see what Matty has to say about Skyrim getting more DLC in 2023. I'm baffled by this. This is insane. Like, I get it, people still buy it, but like, Jesus Christ. At some point, like, come on. What are we doing?
Salutations, everybody. It is Matty here today, feeling particularly good because it's 2023. That means it's the year of Starfield, and all other Bethesda Game Studios games are a thing of the past. Except one. There's one that's going to follow us straight to our graves, and it's a game that starts with an S. It's called Skyrim. And yes, it's getting another update in 2023. And this update may make it more relevant than ever before. And my oh my, do I have some thoughts on this one, because I understand why a lot of people are going to be displeased with the idea of a Skyrim marketplace. Ladies,
oh, they're bringing the marketplace thing back. Oh. Can't say I'm shocked. You know, Todd did an interview where Todd was basically asked, come on, man, what's the deal with all of these like DLC expansion things? What, like, why are you selling Skyrim again after all this time? And he said, basically, it's not my fault. People keep buying it. And I kind of get what he's saying, because, yeah, people do keep buying it. But at the end of the day, I think it's more a matter of principle, because goddamn, the game's been out over a decade now, and you're still trying to milk it. Like, come on. It just, it stinks. It stinks. This is the section of the ship we'll be building while Matty describes it. Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's not delay any further. If you're new here, you're into Bethesda games, you're in the right place. Consider subscribing.
Unironically, go subscribe to Matty. He's been making some great stuff. I used to give him kind of a hard time because he was, back in the day, again, he was a hardcore BGS fanboy. Like, he would, you know, he loved them. He loved everything they did, and he would make excuses for them, and it was pretty funny, if we're being real. But since then, he's actually come out, and he's mellowed a ton, and he's tried very hard to shake that persona and to become much more level-headed, and I gotta hand it to him. It's pretty impressive. I think we've all grown a lot. People forget, like, Matty and I started these channels when we were in our teens, before our brains were even fully developed. So we're like little soft brain monkeys trying to come up with like gaming takes, and of course we had bad takes, you know? But for some people, it's easy to forget that and to think that we're just like, we're the same people we were years and years and years ago, 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago. And that's just not the case. We all make mistakes. We all do stupid things when we're young. What's important is whether or not we grow from that and improve. And I got to hand it to Matty. He's grown a lot. His content is far better than it's ever been before. And so you should go sub to him.
Let's talk about a Skyrim marketplace update. So if you head over to SteamDB right now, you can see all the various branches that Bethesda Game Studios is working on for Skyrim, and you can do the same for any other game available on SteamDB. For Skyrim, they have 2 branches open right now. One being Kala, which is working on the Canadian and Japanese translations for the game. And then there is Hopper. That branch is working on, as it says very, very plainly, Marketplace. Now let's set the table before we go any further. The marketplace for Skyrim is a whole entire conversation on why I think Bethesda truly wants to do this. And I'm going to address that first before the what's of this marketplace. So first and foremost, before any single update came to SteamDB, in September, Skyrim got a very small update that added a brand new feature called Installed Content. It's there. You can check the menu of what is installed within Skyrim. And to me, I found this one kind of strange. Why, after all this time? Is it because of managing the Creation Club content on top of some of the official DLC? I mean, it's a decent amount, but it's not so much that it demands an entire new menu over a year after the game had already come out with that Creation Club content. To me, it was a bit of a head scratcher. Just about a month later, Skyrim came out on GOG and Epic Game Store. And again, when you find out that there's a marketplace seemingly on the way, you start to connect all the pieces together and recognize the table is being set for this marketplace.
What it seems like to me is going on is that Microsoft has started to be like, okay, enough kidding around. We need to make, like, we got to make money. Like this whole thing of spending cash like it's nothing was fun, but this is a business and we need to make money at some point. That seems to be what's going on here. And it's not just this. I think we've seen it with a handful. Oh, the camera's angled up. That's why it looks weird. Hold on. So I think that that's part of it. Is Microsoft is now going to these companies and saying, listen, we gotta focus up. We have some work to do, and we gotta start making a little bit of money back. Because Game Pass is expensive, and you know what? Props to them. I'm glad that they're doing it. They got to make money at some point. But I don't think paid mods coming to a game that's over a decade old is the way to do it. At least not without burning a lot of goodwill. Because I've said it before. I think right now, Xbox is probably the most pro-consumer option on the market. They just have a great public perception. They've been doing really good work, especially when contrasted against Sony. And I will argue that point day and night. I don't think that that's a controversial take at all. Pretty clearly, Sony is the one that's the worst option for the consumer at this point. But with that being said, it's important that Xbox toes this line carefully, because if they swing too quickly to the monetization side, I think people will start to be like, hey, screw you guys. You used to be pro-consumer and now you're trying to milk us in these games that are on Game Pass. That sucks. And it's like Machiavelli used to say, or said in his book, The Prince. Generosity can go a long way. And so can kindness. But it's specifically most impactful when contrasted against the antithesis. So if you are generous and people become accustomed to your generosity, it won't feel like you're doing anything that remarkable when you're generous to somebody. People will just grow to expect it. But if you, for example, are cruel and vindictive and then you show generosity, it's far more impactful. And your people will be far more thankful of that generosity, because it's contrasted against the antithesis, against the opposite. And I think that this is something that Xbox has to be very cautious of, because if they're not, they could end up in a position where they appear to have all of a sudden gotten super greedy and heavy on monetization, when in reality, they're just doing the same thing every other major company has always done. Everybody's just grown used to their generosity, to their kindness, and to their crazy value propositions through Game Pass. Because at the end of the day, eventually Game Pass is going to start to see price increases. You're going to maybe see another tier for day one launches. So Game Pass Ultimate's the only version that gets it, whereas other like tiers of it won't get day one releases. We're going to start to see stuff like that a lot more, because Game Pass right now has tons of subscribers, but they got to start probably capitalizing on that player base a little bit more. I mean, it's capitalism and market economics 101. You corner the market, and then once the competition has left the building, you jack up the prices. Every company on earth is always going to do it. Okay. It's Microsoft right now has a good value proposition. It's going to become worse over time, because it always does. Every company's like this.
Now, if you look at the changelog, you'll see that work really began on this, as far as we know, November of 2022. And the last update came December 2nd of 2022, presumably before Bethesda had left the office. Now, Bethesda does every year, as we learned around Skyrim's release, a internal E3 where they show off features and new ideas for different things within their own games.
That actually does sound super cool. A lot of like the DLC and features that eventually came to Skyrim as DLC started with this end of year, like I forget what they call it, like bash or something, dev bash, where they show off all the coolest stuff that they've been working on for a while. And I think it'd be so cool to just squat in there, because basically what they do, in case you missed the development log where they showed it off and the interviews where they talked about it, what they do is they have the developers work on whatever they want to work on for a week. They don't give them any guidance. They don't say you have to do this or that. They just say go crazy for a week and show us what you can do. And they turn out some really impressive stuff, a lot of which ends up just being DLC that they turn into dedicated games.
This could have been one of them. But here's the thing that I want to begin with above all else. And it's the reason why Bethesda would add a marketplace to Skyrim. And there's two of them.
Because they are poopy heads. I'm mature. Shut up.
Number one.
No, my Lego cam is this cam. But I don't have a scene set up for... I have a thought. Okay, I'll let Matty keep going. I just had a thought of what I can do. Okay, so give me a second.
Is this direct quote here from Todd Howard on the Lex Friedman podcast. Listen for yourself on what he has to say about...
I asked you guys if we wanted to go through that interview, and everybody was like, no, it's boring as hell. There won't be anything to talk about. Apparently, there's stuff to talk about because I hear people referencing it all the time. I listened to it. I thought it was interesting, but maybe it's not great stream content. I get that. But
the modders and getting them jobs at Bethesda.
Like, I love the Khajiit follower mod for Skyrim. It's awesome. There have been quest lines. Those things just take a really, really long time. And so someone who's going to do that, that's almost like it takes them a long time. It's more than a hobby. And we're always looking at ways that we can make it like, hey, they can turn a career into it because it's just awesome.
Now, my thought process when I heard this quote originally, and maybe it was naive of me, was, oh, you see these modders that are making Bethesda Game Studio style projects. You're going to hire them for the official team, bring them on board, and kind of continue the cycle of what a Bethesda Game Studios game is by having the previous generation teach the new generation and then repeating that cycle over and over. That was my thought process. Now, we also know, reason two, being the Creation Club existing. This was one of Bethesda's avenues to support modders. And it obviously wasn't received well. A lot of people called it paid mods. The pricing was egregious.
Yeah, I think that was the biggest thing is that if they, one of the changes I recommended that would have been really, really simple. All you have to do is have modder profiles. Specifically like, oh, this mod was created by like Dark Viper 108. I love his mods. He makes great stuff. That guy, you make it very clear this mod comes from that guy. He's the one getting the payout. That I think would go a long way. What made this seem so slimy is that they advertised it as paid mods where modders were getting kickbacks, but it wasn't an open marketplace, right? Like it wasn't like not Gamers Next. It wasn't like a Nexus or Vortex, you know, for quickly downloading mods freeform. And as a result, it just came off as a rebranded version of microtransaction-based cosmetics, and that's it. So it just didn't sit right. They were paid by contract. Well, yeah, exactly. And I think that's kind of what my point is that it just came off as another way of Bethesda to just charge you for skins and stuff. But they pitched it as though modders were making this stuff and that the modders would make the money from you buying it, so you were supporting the modders. And that's not really what was going on. So it just left a bad taste in people's mouths. Whereas, again, if it were a free open marketplace and they said, hey, this is made by this guy, this one's made by this guy, maybe underneath each of these items, it has at the modder, that would be much more interesting. And if Bethesda then took maybe a 30% cut off the top for brokering the sale, and it was just an open marketplace, I think that would be awesome. I think that'd be great, but they didn't want to do that. So I would say, like, that's probably the biggest problem I had with it, is it just screamed, this is Bethesda paid some modders for rights to their work, and probably created some of this stuff themselves in-house and then just sold it as mods, when in reality it's just paid DLC.
Yeah, it was a pretty atrocious launch all around, and it was a tough conversation to have as someone who supports modders, is friends with lots of modders, but also has to say that the system itself sucked. And it sucked so bad that eventually Bethesda seemed to throw it out the window, stop supporting it, and instead put all that content packaged together in an anniversary edition update and practically gave it away for a complete steal. Like, that was, granted, another release of Skyrim, but the value there and what you got from all of the Creation Club content was a good deal. I just know it wasn't favorable to the community because some people are tired of Skyrim. But those are the reasons why I think Bethesda is doing this marketplace. They want to make money, right? That's an obvious one. They want to give modders a job, They have the Creation Club, and that flopped, so they want to seek another route. And obviously, this won't just be a Skyrim thing. I can guarantee this marketplace will make its way to Fallout 4, to Starfield. But let's talk about what a market...
Fallout 4's support long-term has been really weird, I feel like. But maybe that's just me. I don't know. I feel like they talk about Skyrim way more than they talk about Fallout.
...place could be. Now that we've established why I think Bethesda wants to do this. So there's a couple of games that you could look at for this. If you want to look beyond the borders of Microsoft, you could look at something like Roblox, where full-on companies exist for Roblox to make games as a part.
Yeah, Roblox is like listed on the like it's an actual stock that trades and tons of like hedge funds invest in. It's ridiculous. Roblox is way bigger than I ever realized. It's insane.
Of Roblox, like you can get a full-time job in the Roblox industry, if you will. Now, within Microsoft's borders, it would be something much more familiar to you all, known as Minecraft, and they have their own thing called Minecraft Marketplace, and it's there that they're constantly updating content for people to buy and download as a part of the game itself. Now, here is the kicker to me, and why I also think Bethesda wants to do this, is you can access the Minecraft Marketplace over on consoles with the Bedrock Edition. Here is the problem that Skyrim and Fallout 4 really had with mods on consoles. And it was a memory issue. You couldn't get the high-profile mods. You could only get some of them. PlayStation's mods in particular were incredibly limited, while Xbox didn't have the big hitters many people were looking for. It was also really tough for modders to get their experiences onto consoles. And overall, it became, again, a bit of a messy situation here. But now, with a marketplace, you can bring possibly large-scale mods to the platform and allow people to download it. This does open up the avenue for official long-term support for Skyrim for decades, something that Todd Howard also talked about on the Lex Friedman podcast. Listen to this quote here about how long they think about supporting their games for after Skyrim.
People are going to play the next Elder Scrolls game for a decade, 2 decades. And that does change the way you think about how you architect it from the get-go.
Decades with an S.
That is insane. And he's not wrong. You look at any of these games that have come out in the last... I'm sorry, Matty. I keep freezing it at the worst possible time. I keep doing him so dirty. But like I would agree with this. Like we are talking about games that last ages and are way bigger than just a single one-off release from like Ubisoft or something. I mean, even Ubisoft's games like Assassin's Creed 2, people still play it. And in terms of support, I think the question is, I don't think Todd is talking as much about, oh, we're going to support it by like offering patches and stuff. They were going to do that, like, because it's not that difficult to do. But I think more of what they're discussing here is how do we capitalize on people playing these games for years and decades and decades and decades? Because WoW has been out for, 15, more like 17 years now. And of course, it gets tons of support and is very popular and people love it. But part of it is also like it just prints money, so they can stay on it. They can keep adding expansions and stuff. And I think that they hope to eventually get to the point where these single player games that they're making, they can support and monetize in the same way, which, only makes sense. Realistically, well, Talos, I don't think you're that wrong. I think with something like Starfield, there's the potential to do like entire solar systems as DLC, because why not? Especially if it's just like they're talking so much about dynamically generated content. If they can just dynamically generate this stuff, probably like relatively easy to turn it into expansions.
So when you hear something like that, when you think about something like that, obviously you can't dedicate Bethesda's manpower to that. They're simply not large enough to keep generating content for Skyrim. But they have a community that's already doing it, that's known for doing it, that's trusted with doing it. And if you could bring that to the marketplace, put a price tag on it, Bethesda collects a check, modders especially deserve it, collect a check, and eventually a Skyrim marketplace that could get as big as a Minecraft marketplace where you could have full-on expansions coming out for Skyrim in 2024, 2025 is a crazy idea. And it's exciting because the wait for Elder Scrolls 6 is going to be
almost
insanely
done.
long. It has already been long. And maybe with the resurgence of Skyrim, this is a big maybe, by the way. Imagine Bethesda stepping back in for an expansion that leads into Elder Scrolls 6. Obviously, a fool's hope and just a heavy dosage of speculation here. But
remember I talked about Mr. Matty like growing as a creator. This is one of those moments because back in the day, Fallout 4 Matty would have been like, this is definitely what's happening. And I would have been on board. I'd be like, yeah, for sure. And now we're all like, yeah, no, probably not. But this would be great if they did this, but probably not. I mean, it would be cool. I mean, if they came out with a Skyrim DLC that sets up like the next game, that would be a really unique way of capitalizing on how many copies of the game are out there. But who knows? I mean, it's probably not likely.
these are the types of doors that open with a Skyrim marketplace. And I don't want to sound like I am washing this with positivity, because there is a lot that can go wrong here, and I'm going to talk about that as well. But I do get excited for my modder friends who provide us endless free content, who can maybe have a job in making Skyrim content and subsequently Fallout 4 and subsequently after that maybe Starfield. It's just about when they decide to drop this news. I don't think there will ever be a good time for this news, whether it's now, next month, ahead of Starfield, after Starfield. People are going to react pretty negatively regardless. But if they let the dust settle, they come out with actually worthwhile content, that being the big kicker, I think people will start to adjust. Because the problem with Creation Club is when it came out, they're like, here's some skins, here's some weapons. By the way, because of the nature of the system, we can't add quests to the game. Sorry about that. Give us $15.
Oopsie, sorry. We're so sorry. Oh, you're bummed about that? Sorry.
Thanks. Back to my Minecraft example, much is the same there as it is with a Bethesda game. You can get a lot of these mod packs for free online. Don't got to pay anything. Don't got to go on the marketplace. But for those who are on consoles, they find the marketplace extremely useful. I think of that, and I can't really argue with that avenue. But there are some things that Bethesda has to work through with that. They had a ton of memory issues when it came to the Creation Club with console mods. There were heavy limitations implemented. But now with next-gen consoles, can we expand that? Can we expand what these games can hold? And if you can do that, then I look at something like a console player who never had a PC, never had interest in a PC, or never could afford a PC, maybe making that dream mod list they've seen in so many videos through the marketplace. So I do think there is some good to this beyond people making money, and it's that console players will be able to access these mods. But for us PC players, it's not going to be good. It's just going to be more of the same. And by the way, when the update installs and everything, unless you have updates turned off on Steam, it's going to completely ruin your mod list again. So be prepared for that. Now, one thing I also want to call out here that adds a little more legitimacy to Creation Club coming back in a new way is my buddy Juicehead. Now, he could not provide, it seems like, the actual screenshot to what was said on a Patreon post, likely because it's paid content, so it's walled off, and he did blur it.
X to Doubt. Riot. Juicehead's a liar. No, I don't know anything about Juicehead. I see Juicehead's videos recommended to me every once in a while, but I have like no idea what Juicehead does.
Out in this video, but someone who is a modder did post that Creation Club content would.
Okay, I'm sorry. I know that. Okay, it's paid, like it's special content locked behind a paywall. But this look, I mean, come on, guys. Juicehead, what are we doing? Look at this. In his video, it's just white and it's so heavily blurred you can't see anything. And furthermore, he blurred out the background to frame this even better. Like, come on. Why even show us the screenshot of just white blurry text? Like, this could just be a coupon for adamandeve.com. Like, why? Come on. What are we doing?
Would be coming back in a new way in 2023. So this does add legitimacy to it. I don't know who it is. I don't know where it was posted beyond Patreon. And I understand why Juicehead blurred it out, but I do trust Juicehead. So it was one of those things where I want.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure Juicehead wouldn't just like make this stuff up. It also isn't that scandalous of a thing, which is probably why he's taking it and putting it out, being like, I mean, come on, it's very possible, and this isn't that outrageous of an idea that they would bring this back. But it does just look hilarious that you're like blurring out something that you can't even really see to begin with. And I don't know. I've seen heavier or less heavy redactions on like Trump's tax returns and stuff.
Wanted to make sure I called it out since a couple of people were sending it my way saying, hey, Matty, do you know anything about this? Should we be interested in this? What's going on with the marketplace? My answer is the same. I just know it's from another modder. I don't know anything beyond that and even who it is. But the kicker here, I think, is the end of the road. Skyrim will continue to have its audience, will continue to have people play it, buy content for it. And I think this marketplace will generate a lot of revenue for Bethesda, whether the internet lights on fire or not. I don't think this stops with Skyrim. Let's go to Starfield for a moment here. Remember the 1,000+ planets, and Todd Howard saying, yeah, some of them are empty and like they're there for modders. Like he's talking about it in a known quantity, right? And we already know that for free modders will go in and turn planets into full-on quest lines and stories and all that stuff. That will be incredible when that finally happens. But I cannot fathom the idea of them just doing this marketplace in Skyrim. I could.
Yeah, for real. I mean, this is totally fair. I think that they're setting this thing up to be the ultimate sandbox game where you can just do whatever you want. And then they're going to set it up for paid mods. Without a doubt. Without a doubt. I mean, they're literally giving blank planet-sized canvases to modders. So, yeah, it's going to be a thing. No doubt. No doubt. Starfield's definitely the final target here.
Could totally see them taking that same Skyrim marketplace and making a Starfield marketplace where you can download content and it loads up these planets that were previously empty and turns Starfield into a platform. Why is that? Back to the original quote. When we make games, we got to think about how they're going to last for decades. And when we talk about Starfield, let's say it's a hit like we're hoping it is, the reality that no one is talking about right now is after Starfield is Elder Scrolls 6. After Elder Scrolls 6 is Fallout 5. What about Starfield 2? Exactly.
Yeah, in 2068, we got to think about Starfield 2. I mean, it's a running gag at this point that Bethesda games take forever to make, and then, you know, they put them out, they kind of forget about them for a while. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be forever until we get a new game. They brought on BGS Austin. Initially, they said it was to like improve their production schedule, but now we know that it was pretty much entirely done to try and like keep Fallout 76 alive while they were working on Starfield and these other things. So it apparently was not that much about improving their production schedule. It's always been terrible, and it will continue to be terrible. So I just have a mod manager app for consoles made for specific games that ships with them for free, which you can download mods from reputable sources like Nexus. Yeah, but then you can't charge people for it. And that's the biggest problem. Plus, the benefit, as far as I know, actually, I need you guys' help with this. I've never done it. But if you've ever bought something through like Fallout 76 or Skyrim's paid mods and stuff, do they take you to like the Xbox portal to pay for the item, or is it all paid within the app? Because my theory, or at least my suspicion, would be that this is something that is paid for within the app so that they get the benefit of the avoiding the microtransaction charges, basically, within the app. Okay. So when you buy the mod through Skyrim, if it's through the app, they don't pay Xbox the Xbox cut for processing the transaction. Same with PlayStation. Whereas like if they were to do a separate mod installer, probably would be something that you'd have to get Xbox on board with, or, you know, it's a whole other thing. Is Fallout 76 good? I like Fallout 4, but 76 at launch, couldn't get into it. Has an improved sense. It's better. It still has that slight delay. Thank you, Mikhail, for the $5. Appreciate you. I don't know where the alert
Michelangelo
is.
donated $5 through Super Chat. Have fun with the Lego build. Here's some change for medical supplies to take care of your hands.
Thank you, Miguel. Yeah, my fingies are going to be very sore by the time we're done with this 9,000 piece set. But yeah, no, anyway, all of that to say, I think Fallout 76 is better, but it still has like weird lag all the way throughout. You'll press like fire and it's slight, maybe like 10, 20 milliseconds, but it's just enough for it to feel really laggy. It's like playing a shooter, like an online shooter like Overwatch or COD, and having 100 millisecond ping. Like it just doesn't feel good. And that's all of Fallout 76. On controller, I think it's much less noticeable, but on mouse and keyboard, especially if you play some more competitive shooters, it's going to be very noticeable and it will drive you crazy.
Exactly. It's going to be a hot minute before a Starfield 2. So that's why I truly believe that you're going to get your Creation Club, Marketplace, whatever it is, in all of these modern BGS games. And I do think, as I've said before, that when Fallout 3 and New Vegas come back, they're going to have Creation Club. I truly believe this new Marketplace thing.
My brain just melted. I heard Fallout 3 New Vegas, and I was like, oh, I loved that game.
This new Creation Club, whatever it's going to be, is going to become a staple because it makes these games last forever, at least in the eyes of Bethesda Game Studios. So we'll see how all this turns out, but I think this is a long-term play by Bethesda, that they're going to go to their cash cow, to their reassured place, their security blanket, if you will, known as Skyrim. They're going to do it there first, probably Fallout 4 after. The fact that it's getting a next-gen update now, to me, still a head-scratcher. I feel like that was long overdue, but it's getting a next-gen update now in 2023. Okay, see you when we see you. I feel like it could be added there, where Creation Club content support also stopped, by the way, and eventually Starfield. That would just be my guess, and obviously a lot of guessing in this video. It's not official in the terms of a Bethesda announcement, but we see it here on SteamDB. It is called the Marketplace. It is pretty clear what can happen, and that's the information. So I'm curious to hear your thoughts on it. Are you concerned? Are you excited?
I mean, as far as I can tell, what I find fascinating about all of this is that it's very, like all of this stuff, you have to wonder what the motivation was. And for something like this, I don't actually know for sure what the motivation was, who's pushing them to do this, other than Xbox executives. Like it's got to be Xbox execs, right? Like, I don't know who else would push them to do it, because maybe what it is that Todd gets a bonus based on the revenue they pull in. Maybe that's it. I don't know. But it's really strange that they're choosing to do all of this
game,
now.
but, you know,